fans, I want to welcome you to the Inside the Cardinal Playbook, first edition of the year. And sitting to my right is the head coach here, a guy that's I got the opportunity to see him in scrimmage, and I know he's ready to go. And we're going to talk a little bit about the 2011 season, talking about excitement before we get into the offense and defense, especially teams. How's it feel to start a new conference, new division? You want me to go on and on?
No,
Let's talk about that.
There's a lot of new things this year, and it's been a lot of fun. You know, it's a process of getting to this point, and like you said, all the things, and leaving our old conference and working into a new conference next year and starting to play some of those teams this season, and the transition to the NCAA, and finally getting that kind of set and being able to use the logo and market ourselves that way. It's been tremendous. It's helped us in so many ways up to this point, and a lot of the other things that are going on in the athletic department, such as us being able to do this on video this year, rather than audio. And the audio was great, but the video adds another component. And there's a lot of really good things going on in our athletic department right now, and our kids are feeling that excitement.
We'll just start off, and I thought we'd keep it simple because we're both football coaches, so we need to do that. We're just going to break it out. You haven't had a ball game yet, and we'll talk about Sterling at the end of the show. But let's talk about, and we'll start off with the offense. Why don't you discuss some of the new faces you got, kind of what you're looking at. I won't give up any of your offensive or defensive schemes.
Good. No, it's been a lot of fun, and we've learned a lot. We reported to camp on the 9th of August, so we've been in it almost 2 weeks now. Which is a short period of time when you're talking about playing this Saturday. Right. But we've learned a lot about ourselves and our team in that short time. We brought in a big freshman class this year. One, because we graduated a lot of seniors and needed to, and two, we needed to continue to supplement our roster, our current roster, with new and exciting players. And we feel like we've done that in a big way. And you never really know, in the recruiting process, you see them on film, and you see. You do a lot of background research on their character and all of the work ethic things with coaches, as you know, and you think you have a pretty good idea of the type of kids you're bringing in, both personally and athletically and academically. You don't really know until you get them here, and we have been extremely, extremely impressed by the young men, especially the new young men that have joined the team over the summer and into the fall here, on all phases of the game, both offensively, defensively, and special teams. And it's a very dynamic group of freshmen. I had a meeting with just the freshmen yesterday and told them how special I think their class is, and how I think that they can be one of the best classes if they stay together and do the team things right, one of the best classes to ever go through the school here. And that's giving them high praise or high expectations at an early age. But I really truly think, because there's been a lot of great teams that have been through here, as you guys know, but I really think they have a chance to do some great things, if they stay together and work together as a team.
Well, one comment I made to you after the scrimmage, I noticed we're a little bigger up front on the offensive line, and we have a couple skill kids that really kind of stuck out to me. Why don't you talk about them on the offensive side?
Yeah, the offensive line is primarily, we lost one starter off that from last year's squad, and got everybody else back. And a lot of those guys you see out there are bigger, but they're a lot of the same guys that were here a year ago. They just had a year more to develop.
Been in that weight
with our Scott Odell, our new weight coach, and that we've had for the last year, and has done a great job with them, and seen a lot of growth there. And then we were able to add a guy at semester that really has helped us from Northwest Missouri State. He was a transfer from Liberty.
It's good to get those Bearcats.
Those big guys up front, they're hard to replace. So
yes, that's right.
We feel really good about having some experience there and those guys back, and then having Sean back at the quarterback position. Anytime you can bring a starter back at that position, and we started him at a young age last year. As you guys know, he was a redshirt freshman, and you take some lumps and you learn through doing a little bit with him last year, but he's grown through so much through that process, and going into this year, he's able to do a lot more things at the line of scrimmage and get us in and out of plays that are better or worse. And he's done a great job. Return a lot of guys at the receiver position. We lost a couple guys in Taylor Gallagher and Adam McBride that have been some mainstay guys here for a while, but the athleticism we've been able to replace them with has been very, very good and very exciting here over the last couple of weeks. And at the tailback position, the running backs, Chris Stewart's back. He's done some things for us back there. It's kind of a two-way player at fullback and tailback, and intellectually he can do a lot of things well for us on the football field. And then we've supplemented a few other guys in there. Andrew Edwards is back, who took some snaps for us there. And then we were able to bring in a guy this summer who we recruited hard out of high school, from Belton, Missouri. Everybody recruited hard from Belton, Missouri, by the name of Glenn Whitney. He spent 1 year as a redshirt at Coffeyville Junior College, and we were able to get him back. And he's a big, physical runner that can do a lot of things and be very dynamic for us back there. And a guy we brought in a semester who is from New Orleans, Louisiana originally, and spent a year or two at Lane College, which is a Division II school in Tennessee, and Phil Ankar, that's a little bit smaller, that gives us a little bit more shiftiness back there.
Little change-up guy.
Exactly. We're excited about him. And then there's several guys in our freshman class that have shown some really bright spots here over the last couple of weeks.
You know, I was looking, and like I said, we're not going to talk technique too much, but a lot of H-back and tight ends in your offense. I know Spuff had moved over from the offense or defensive side.
Yeah, Andrew had a unfortunate shoulder injury two spring balls ago, and you know, it took some reconstructive surgery to get some nerves back to fire in that shoulder. And he had it done over in St. Louis at Washington University.
Yeah, I knew he was going to do that.
And you know, the doctors are amazed at his recovery.
Good.
They're actually making a case study out of his recovery. They're so amazed by, you know, the approach that he took to it in the rehab and how quickly he progressed. But he's doing some good things over there. You know, Josh Capron we lost to an ACL surgery, you know, after the Baker game last year, and he's back and doing well. And Jordan Williamson's a guy that joined our team kind of midway through the season last year. He was a basketball player, a kid from Oklahoma City originally. He's about 6'2.5", about 245, and the kid can really run. Great hands, great body positioning, those type of things.
Good place for a basketball
Exactly.
player.
And then Shane Gibson's a young man that we've moved around from some different positions and has a great understanding of our offense. And then several really good frame kid freshmen that are here doing some good things as well.
Okay, Coach, let's go to mine, your first love, and that's the defense. I assume that you're still going to be your own defensive coordinator.
Yeah, you know what? Matt Trowbridge, our secondary coach, has been with me now going on his 4th year. I started to transition some things over to in the spring, and he called it all during spring ball. I didn't call a snap during spring ball. He did a great job with it there. And, you know, I made him our co-defensive coordinator this year, and he's taken a lot of that off my plate as far as the day-to-day operations of coordinating the defense. And you know how much goes into that, and the time of, you know, practice planning. And I still oversee everything, but he's to the point, you know, in his career where he's ready to do those things.
Sure.
And I really haven't scripted a play call all fall either, you know, over the last 2 weeks. Now, as he knows and I know, it'll be hard for me to step away from that on Saturdays, but at least during the situations when I'm needed to go do something else, talk to the offense or the special teams, or I'm on the officials, as you guys know, I maybe have a hard time with every now and then.
Never.
And he can jump in and not miss a beat there. So he's done a great job with that. But, you know, defensively, we replaced a lot of guys. We lost 7 starters on defense, and so that's a pretty big hit because there were some pretty good players, several all-conference guys in that group,
Tough
I think
kids.
4, and some really tough kids that have been in the scheme for a long time. So, you know, coming into the fall here, it was okay. Well, we weren't sure what we really had. We moved some guys around and had guys in positions, but, you know, how they're going to react, you know, as being in the starting role or in the 2 deep and those things, we didn't really know. And, you know, knowing that our freshman class is pretty talented on both sides of the ball, we knew we'd be able to get some help from those folks as well. And a lot of those young guys have really stepped in, and we all know competition makes us all better in every phase of the game.
You bet it does.
That's made us better offensively. It's made us better defensively, and on the kicking game. It's given us some depth, and it's pushed those older guys, you know, because they're looking over their shoulder going, whoa, Coach brought in a bunch of really good athletes. If I don't do my part and give everything I've got, you know, I might not have this job very long. And so that's made our team better. But defensively, you know, we made a move with losing David Diener at the Mike linebacker position, which, as you know,
Great
is so
player.
important to the defense. We moved Nelson Windebank, who was our will last year, over to that position, and we spent a lot of time together, Nelson and I, in the spring and the summer. You know, Nelson would come in on his own just voluntarily and watch some film, and we'd talk about some different things. And he's taken kind of that role that David had last year, the role of completely understanding an offense and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to attack you. And if offenses change the play at the line of scrimmage, you know, why are they changing? What's the quarterback seeing? What defense are we in? What defense can we maybe change to quickly during the snap to get us in a better look? And he's done a tremendous job with that and become a very good leader for us. You know, Nathan Valentine, who was a starting linebacker for us 2 years ago, that had an unfortunate knee injury in the first practice of training camp last year, is now back for us and playing the will linebacker position. So there's two guys there that have been some staples for us that we can rely on. Ben Roberts and Tyler Bullis are back on the defensive line, and they're both bigger and faster and stronger this year, and so that gives us some comfort there. Owen Hodges is back at corner, a Blue Springs kid
good boy
that transferred from Drake.
I'm glad he's back, though. I think he'll help you.
He's a great kid.
Good people.
He's the nicest kid you'll ever meet.
I know.
He's one of those guys that once he steps inside the white line turns into
he
an
puts some funny bumps on you.
Yeah, he turns into an undercover tough guy.
Yeah.
And boy, he's a heck of a football player.
Smart kid too.
Exactly. Jack Bissonette, who saw some snaps for us last year, is back.
Remember him?
We've got Kurt Webster, who started for us at strong safety, is back. Jeff Cunningham, who's a Liberty kid that was also transferred from Northwest Missouri State a couple years ago. Yep. He's playing free safety for us, and he's doing a nice job. And then we've got a bunch of young depth that's doing a really nice job.
Good.
At those other positions. Josh Mathis and Josiah O'Brien at the nose guard position are, give us a little bit more size there than maybe we've had in the past. Mark Gerster was a heck of a player for us there.
He was.
I'm not sure. We might have had him down at 270. I'm not sure he played a game over 260 or 265. But
there were some days he looked 245.
Yeah, towards the end of the season, it was hard to keep the weight on him. But
did a great job, though.
Yeah, Mathis and Josiah are right around 280 right now, which gives us a little bit more, girth inside there. And the young kids on defense, we've got some really good young kids at linebacker and in the secondary that are adding a lot of depth for us now and competing for some starting positions. We made a move. Our backup outside linebacker last year behind Traphagen was a kid by the name of Blake Brown from Fort Osage, and he's really gotten big, and he's about 235, 240 now. We moved him to the defensive end position because of some depth things and thought maybe that would be a position where he could really shine, and boy, we're having a really hard time blocking him right now in practice.
That's good to hear.
He's shining. He'll be a sophomore for us this year. Sure. So he's got a motor that runs nonstop, and on defense you love a kid like that, and he plays a little bit angry, which is okay. This is a little different game than most, and which is great on the defensive side. So expecting some really good things out of him as well.
Well, let's talk about the third phase, and one reason why I really respect you and your staff is because I've talked to you a little bit. You're building.
Yeah.
You're in a conference, going to be a Division II school. And I want to make that clear to all the fans. I believe and I know what you're going through, and that's why I like being here.
Yeah.
And especially teams, we both know can make a difference to even things up a little bit more.
No doubt.
And you guys did a great job of improving that area last year. Why don't you talk about that?
Sean Weiger, who's our assistant head coach, has done a tremendous job with that. And I may have told this story last year. When I took this job, I leaned on a couple people that I know in the profession that have been very successful. One of them has won a Super Bowl, and the thing he told me was, you need to hire. You can do the defense. You need to hire an offensive guy you trust and a special teams guy that is the second best guy on your staff potentially that can get it done. That you can put a lot of faith in, because that's the most undercoached area of the game in college football. Now in the NFL, they coach the heck out of it. There's a couple teams in college that coach the heck out of it. Virginia Tech is the one that comes to mind, and Frank Beamer spends a lot of time on that, and they're very good. They make difference in a game on the special team side, and we feel like we were able to do that in some games last year. And we were number one in the country in field goals and in number. In the top 10 in kickoff returns and some different things like that. So we came a long way there. Even with more athletes this year, we feel like we can take an even bigger step. Now, understanding like you made the point of, you're moving up a division, and the level of play and the level of competition just continues to get better. So I hope everybody realizes that too. But for this season, if we're improving, means we're winning as many or a few more than we did last year. And that's against a pretty tough schedule. That means we're going to have to go out and beat some Division II competition, both from our new league and other Division II schools we're playing, and win all the games we're supposed to win, which, people may say, what games are those? Well, we think we should win them all. And as a coach, as you know, if you're not going into every game thinking you're going to win, you shouldn't be doing this. But special teams has been very good for us. We return in that area of the game. We return 2 all-conference players. Warren Freever, who was a true freshman for us, was number 1 in the country last year in field goal percentage. He was 100%, 15 for 15 on field goals, and was a second-team All-American in some NAIA polls. And then Daniel Megan was a second team all-conference punter last year. So we returned both of those two guys, and that is a blessing because you know how difficult it is to find good players sometimes in those positions that are reliable. And then the people we're putting around them, in protection on punt and blocking on kickoff return and cover guys on kickoff and punt, and we're putting better athletes around them now.
You feel like you have more skilled kids around?
We've got a lot more athleticism, and a lot of that, is our first year of recruiting. We had some athleticism here, but we didn't have enough. Our first focus, our first year in recruiting, is you and I have talked about, was in year number one, you got to build it up front because you can be as good as you want in the back end of it with skill positions. If you're not good on the offense and defensive line, and, you're not going to be very good. So our first year was, okay, let's find all the big bodies and get them plugged in, and a lot of those guys started for us last year, and this year it was, okay, speed. Find all the fast guys you can find that are good football players and plug them into the positions that you need. And we've done that in a very big way in this freshman class. You try and look back on all your years in coaching, and you look at all the recruiting classes you've been involved with, and you try and compare and contrast, and none of that ever really filters out till a year or two later, until you really know what you got. But we never had a class that is this athletic when I was at the Division II level at the school I was at for 5 or 6 years. We didn't have one this athletic. Now, how does that equate 2 or 3 years from now? I don't know, because you never know how those people develop and how they progress. But I feel like we have a very good foundation here, and we can do some really good things.
You have a good starting point is what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
I think that's what we need to hit with the fans, the Cardinal fans, and kind of leads us into our first game. It was easy in the past. We talk about people that everybody had seen play over and over again, but you're going to start out with Sterling, Colorado. And I got the email that you sent, and typical coach's gerbil. Okay, before the first game here, he said Cardinal fans that he wasn't sure quarterback. He was crying the blues. Wasn't sure who was going to start on the offensive line. Blah blah blah. Why don't you try to give me your honest opinion? What do you think?
Well, you know what, we've become very efficient as a coaching staff here over the last 18 to 20 months or so, and we traded film with them our last 2 games for their last 2 games at the beginning of June, really at the beginning of May, and we had a 2-game break done on them, and the game plan's done by June 18th, I think, was the deadline that all the coaches had to have their breakdown stuff done. So we've had our initial game plan pretty much set since the middle of June for them, and the breakdown done on them. Here's what I'll tell you about their football team. They're going to come in there and they are going to play extremely hard. Coach Lambert is a great coach. He's been there going on his 8th year now, and he does a great job of getting everything out of those kids. On paper, we should be bigger. We should be a bigger team, more physical team from a stature standpoint. But we both know how this game is.
Oh yeah,
it's the dog that fights the hardest that wins the fight. So. We've got to make sure that we're playing and being able to match their intensity as we go into this game, and that'll be the biggest tell for us. They returned some guys on both sides of the ball. They're replacing their quarterback position. They lost a couple guys,
which is a good thing.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, good to hopefully.
Yeah.
They bring in some guys. They've got a couple transfers I know that they really like, and one kid that was there last year at the receiver position that they moved over, and that's a very athletic kid. So. The hardest thing about playing your first game is not knowing exactly what you're going to see or what they're going to come out in or exactly what personnel they're going to throw at you on both sides of the ball, because there's a lot of new faces and a lot of things can happen, throughout the
first
course
game
of the offseason.
is a crapshoot.
It is, and unfortunately, because of my scheduling in some sense, and we're playing 2 first games this year. We'll play this one, and then the next week we play the team we're playing the next week won't have played a game before they played us. So. There's something to be said, I think, about having a game under your belt going into that, and so our focus right now is on this coming Saturday, and Sterling College is going to come in here and they're going to play their guts out, and like I said, if we match their intensity, and we play as hard or harder than they do, I like our chances.
I want to mention too, don't forget that's a 5:30 start this Saturday to be the first night game of the year. And we're going to have a little, like I said, we're probably going to have to do this every week, Coach, is kind of familiarize our fans with who we're playing because it's a different conference. We will have 2 open dates, too, this year, which will be a little bit unusual. I think we actually get done the second week in November, so it's spread out,
Yeah, it's spread out. And the reason for that this year, this early game that we're playing, we could have dropped it in the middle of the schedule somewhere, but because of how it matched up with our schedule and Sterling's schedule, this was a date that worked out. And from a coaching perspective, in this year in the NCAA, which is our provisional year, we're not eligible for some postseason things and all of that, and with a very young team, we staggered it out this way. We're playing a game earlier than everybody else.
Yeah.
In NCAA Division II, nobody's playing a game earlier.
That's where I got hung up a little bit for the first game. I knew that.
We really don't have 2 open dates. It looks like in our schedule because we're playing earlier than everybody else, but how it works out for us is we come in for training camp and we're here for about 3 weeks and we play 2 games, and then we have a bye week, and then we play 4 more, then we have a bye week, and then we play 4 more. So with a very young team and not knowing exactly how things play out from a health perspective, it gives us some 4-week stretches and then a week off to be able to potentially get healed up, reassess where we're at, and, so I'm looking forward to that part of it. Would you love to play every week? Yes, we would love to. But because of how things worked out this year, this really plays into our favor, I believe, for hopefully being able to stay healthy throughout the season and freshen guys up, in strategic places during the season.
Well, one thing I want you to do, whether you want to or not, I'm going to pull the old bull on you, is I want you to give a shout-out to your wife and your children. I saw your boy out there scrimmage this past Saturday, and he was carrying the whistle. Is he taking over for you?
You probably saw my face light up when you started talking about them. That, as in this profession, you don't get to spend near as much time as you should with your family. And the last Saturday and the Sunday before, I would be gone for a week because as and you guys have been in my office, Rick and you, there's a couch in there and there's some bedding laying right by the couch during training camp, and during the season earlier in the week, I stay in my office. And so I got here on a Monday.
A lot of people don't know that.
Well, yeah, maybe some people will come knock on my door now in the middle of the night, but so I came on a Monday to training camp and didn't get home until Saturday night, and I got home just in time. My wife kept my son up, who's 3 years old now, and just in time to put him to bed. And he said, "Daddy, I want to come to work with you tomorrow." And it just so happened that Sunday's schedule worked out that I could get him up and bring him in for breakfast and let him come to work. And so we're walking out of my office, and he sees me put my whistle on. And he said, "Daddy, I need a whistle." So I just happened to have an extra one. And,
I like it.
And it was a lot of fun at practice. I didn't notice this, but some of the other coaches said that he was watching me the whole time, and he'd stagger my feet exactly the way I he'd stagger his the way I staggered mine. When my whistle was in my mouth, his would be in his.
I saw it too.
And so that's a lot of fun, and I don't get to see them near enough. My wife does a tremendous job, and you guys know she's a doctor, so she keeps that schedule, which is very rigorous as well. And we've got a 10-month-old little girl that started to crawl last week that I missed her first days of crawling, but
missed a lot.
I got caught up on it a little bit. Here over the weekend on Sunday.
Good.
And so they're great, and thank you for asking. I'm very blessed to be around, be with a woman that understands what I do and understands my passion for this, and allows me the time to spend with my other family that's here during this time of the year.
Well, that's probably a wrap for the first Inside the Cardinal Playbook. I'm looking forward to the 2011 season. It's really going to be exciting for Cardinal fans. I mean, it's a new conference, whole new look. We've got a lot of new things to bring you. Hopefully you guys will be behind us. I know that you probably have heard about that we're going to have the streaming and that type of thing on the internet. Hopefully you guys will be able to tune in and watch our ball games. Like I said, we're all looking forward to it. A great year. Good luck to you and your staff, Coach.
Thank you.
I know you'll be ready to go, and the only thing to do now is kick it off.
Hey, I wish it was here today, but we got to wait till Saturday. Looking forward to seeing everybody.
We'll see you then. 5:30.